Hey, how you doing? It's the Tom and Ed podcast again. We're back after a while, and we're going to be talking about superheroes, comic book superheroes, some of our favorite ones, and villains as well, anti-heroes, all that sort of stuff. How you been, Tommy?
I've been good. This week is brought to you by Pepsi. It's almost like Coca-Cola. I don't know if
All
they
right.
really officially endorse that, but I'm trying.
They're sodas.
Yeah, they are. They are sodas, and they taste a lot like each other.
Yeah,
So enjoy.
nice.
All right. So, how would you like to start it off? Do you want to start it off with your top superheroes, or you want to go with the villains?
We could do either. Superheroes are fine. We could start with that.
All right. I'll start from the bottom of my list. Uh,
Okay.
At the bottom of my list at number 10 would be Superman or well slash Superboy. I got into Superboy as a kid and I really enjoyed the Bloodlines comics back in the early 90s. And
Right.
yeah, they were good. They were like gory, but it was like aliens getting killed and stuff. So it was
Yeah.
it was somewhat PG-13. Probably shouldn't have
Right.
been at the age that I was, but it was good and I really enjoyed it. It made Superboy one of my favorites. But I feel like I missed a lot of the train on Superman. There was the Reign of the Supermen, well, I remember,
Right.
and I enjoyed that. But it was confusing to me as a kid. And like I remember the Eradicator being one of my favorites, and then he turned out to be a bad guy. So I don't know. Wait, no, I think he turned out to be a good guy. Cyborg turned out to be a bad guy. Yeah.
Right.
Either way, it was like it was kind of confusing as a kid. It's still confusing to think about now, the reign of the Superman. But
Yeah.
I kind of wish that they had done that in the movies rather than that what they did after the Justice League or whatever. But
Yeah.
all right, that's my number 10. Who do you got?
My number 10 would be Beast from the X-Men.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I've always liked him. He's probably my favorite X-Men character. Um, I think I like that he's really smart, but he looks like this like monster. But it kind of depends all on how he looks or how he's drawn. I mean, if
Yeah,
he looks some people draw him or in certain universes he's like a cat, and I
yeah.
don't like that version of him. I think
It's kind of
he
strange.
looks
It takes me
he,
out of it somehow. I know what you mean.
yeah, he looks like a Thundercat, and it looks really stupid to me, and I never liked the way he's designed that way.
Yeah.
But if he kind of has like a human face, it's just furry. That's the way I like him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well, that's a good hero. The actor that played him in the latest rendition of him,
yeah.
just cast to play a role. I'm trying to remember. I'll probably remember it sometime during this cast, but it was a nerdy role. And I was going to make a note to write it down, but I was like, wow, that's perfect. Oh, it's Lex Luthor in the new Superman.
All
He's
right. Yeah,
in Superman Legacy. I
yeah.
think perfect pick. He's going to be an amazing Lex Luthor, especially compared to the last pick with Jesse Eisenberg. I
Right.
didn't
Yeah,
agree with that casting choice really very much.
yeah. Me either.
That's my like my choice or personal preference. I don't know. Uh,
Right.
so number 9, I got.
Right.
I'm kind of partial to this hero because I'm a co-creator of him, but his name's Hamster Man, and he by he's a mild psychic and yeah, he's a very interesting character because he lives in a giant like pen like with huge wood chips, like giant logs of wood chips, and he's got
Yeah.
a bottle with a little ball that he goes and drinks from. And yeah, it's like the Bat Cave but the hamster cage.
Yeah.
So I like.
Hamster Man. It's a good one.
So what'd you say?
Yeah, Hamster Man's a good one. He's always close to my heart.
All right, who do you got for number 9?
Number 9 is probably on the same level as Hamster Man. I would say Captain America.
All
There
right.
you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, I always liked Steve Rogers. You know, I have a soft spot for like sort of moral characters in superheroes.
Yeah,
I don't always like them, but when they're like Captain America, I really like them. So
I feel like Captain America. It took time for me to grow, for him to grow on me in the comics, because in the comics, it took a what if comics where all the heroes were fighting each other, and
right,
he was the one that ended up winning by sacrificing himself trying to save somebody else.
yeah,
Like a real fitting. I was like, whoa, that guy's pretty badass. And he was he was the winner of it, even though he died. It was
yeah,
like. So it was a pretty cool one. And my number 8, just to elaborate on your point, is the new Captain America, Sam Wilson. I really
right,
like that character, and I loved him. Before he became Captain America,
right. When he was a Falcon.
he was so cool.
Yeah,
And actually had a live Falcon. I don't like
right. Yeah.
turned it into a robot in the movies.
I wish they kept it as a real Falcon in the movies. That would have been so cool.
Like why not? Like
I,
nobody had any animal friends.
I know it would have been great. I think they should have done it. And I wish he had more like that costume too. Like the costume was more,
80s style.
like, yeah,
I like that a lot better, man. Yeah.
yeah, me too.
So who do you got for number 8? Sorry, I got a guest coming in here.
Number 8, I would say it's another X-Men character, Rogue from the X-Men.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
what I like about Rogue is that
It's ruined, right?
what?
Is when she touches anything, it's just ruined.
It's just ruined. Yeah, I like that it's a character that has all these powers, but it's a drawback. Like, she can't do anything that a normal person could do. Oh, here we go. There's Boba Fett. Is Boba Fett on your list?
No, surprisingly, this isn't Boba Fett. This is like number 44 of Fett. I have no.
Oh, okay.
It's been kind of modified a little bit.
Right.
Hey, go lay down, buddy. All right. Who do you got for your number 8?
That was 8.
Oh, that was 8. Okay.
Yeah.
You said Rogue, right?
Yeah.
Wow. What else do you like about Rogue then?
Well, I like her encounter. I really like her origin, kind of her origin with Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, where she kind of just absorbs all of her powers and becomes basically like her. I always thought that was kind of a cool way because a lot of her powers aren't mutant powers; they're just powers from somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. She absorbed.
Yeah, and I always thought that was kind of cool, and it was kind of cool that she could permanently do that to somebody. So.
She reminds me of the character from Heroes a little bit, Sylar.
Yeah.
He kind of was like a power sponge, He took other
Yeah.
people's, and I thought that was
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for number 7, I got kind of an unpopular choice here, most likely, but I like Robin.
Okay. Yeah.
Or
Is
Night,
that
whatever. But
Dick Grayson? Right. Okay. So.
Yeah, Grayson. He should eventually take over the role of Batman, I feel like,
Yeah, well, he did actually for a little while when Batman was sort of lost in time or whatever that storyline was. He was thought to be dead and he became Batman.
Batman had a lot of confusing storylines as well. Like when he had his back broken by Bane.
Yeah.
That
By
was
Bane in Nightfall. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a cool introduction for Bane because he's always portrayed as kind of an idiot in the movies, but Bane is actually a pretty smart character.
Yeah. Yeah. Bane in the movies, I really couldn't stand the like.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. And they linked him up with the League of Assassins or the League of Shadows or whatever they called it in the movies for some reason. I don't know.
I didn't like that very much. And I wasn't a huge fan of that last Batman movie in particular. And I
didn't like it either.
Left Robin. Well, I mean, not the last Batman, the latest one with Robert Pattinson, right? That was good. But also, that one was a little boring to me.
It was a little long. Didn't need to be that long, I don't think.
Didn't have enough action sequences to keep me engaged, they solving the crime quick enough. It just was. It was a little bit of a slow pace for me, because I would prefer it to kind of move. I was like, what the heck's going on?
No, I'm with you.
Batman, and there was no Robin, and I'm expecting the new Batman to have no Robin also. And that's
Yeah,
one of the reasons why I put him on my hopeful heroes list. That I had another list of, heroes
right,
that they'd show more of is Robin. Like he's really the counterpart to Batman. He helps him with his negative downside. Like.
right.
But, all right. Either way, who do you got for number seven?
Number seven, I'm putting Ben Grimm, the Thing,
Whoa,
uh,
one. That
from the Fantastic Four. I just like that he is
forgot about
this
him.
character. Yeah, this character who's like mixed up with these three other genius characters, almost like these really smart people, and he's kind of like this brute, and he's just,
He is what's really important. You know what I mean? Like
right.
the fact that he's so loyal to Reed and Sue, and
Yeah,
even
he's like the heart and soul of the team, I think.
I was going to put Johnny, as one of my top
Yeah,
heroes. He didn't quite make number 10. Hamster Man was and Superboy cut him off.
yeah,
So he was number 11 on my list. But
yeah,
yeah, that's a good one. The Thing. Uh,
yeah.
uh,
Always like the Thing.
who do I got? Oh, for number 6, I got Nova. Nova is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Because he's like a normal kid and he gets thrust into like the galaxy, or
yeah.
is regular teenager, and he has to fight intergalactic battles all of a sudden.
Right. Sort of Marvel's Green Lantern in some ways.
Feel like too, it was in the 70s or whatever that they really became popular, and he did a lot of team ups with Spider-Man, and I read
Right.
my father's comics, and they were awesome. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed. So he's one of my favorites, and I wish that they would do something with him these days, but I don't know how they would do it. Like would it be better as a TV show or a movie? Like
It's tough to say. I could see it as a TV show.
I would love it as a TV show, but
Yeah.
like, that's my personal take.
Yeah.
All right, so who do you got for number 6?
Number six, I put Thor.
All right,
Um, Thor's kind of a character that I got into fairly recently, like within the last 20 years or so. I liked, I always thought that the whole God aspect to Marvel was kind of interesting, because in the comics, they actually are gods,
yeah,
whereas in the movies, they're kind of portrayed as just aliens.
yeah,
So, but I always thought he was a cool character. You know, the God of Thunder storyline was kind of cool with the Gore, the God Butcher, which is what they based the last movie on, which was not that great. But
I
you
actually,
know,
I really, what's her name dying left a sour taste in my mouth, though. So
yeah,
spoiler alert. Oops.
right. It's a few years old now. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, if anybody wants to watch that Thor movie, she
Yeah.
doesn't. I didn't ruin it. All right. Next on my list actually is very similar to yours. That you just said Thor. I got Exo Man of War from
Oh,
Valiant,
okay.
and
Yeah.
he is the one that reminds me the most of Thor out of any other comic book character. And
Right.
I think his comic is a lot like fish out of water. Like he's just at a time. He's a character at a time. He's from the Roman
Right.
era,
Yeah.
gladiator era. So it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting just seeing his interactions and how he adjusts to the changes that have been made over time.
Yeah.
So
It's a very unique character.
yeah, he's got like a sword that's like a lightsaber that comes out, and it's I think his suit's called Shinara, and
Mm.
suit was like revered as a religious item by this alien race who I have on my list of villains as well. That alien race like would test it religiously on themselves to see if anybody would be chosen, and it would just kill people year after year. And it was like the honor of their planet to be chosen. So everybody would fight to try to get killed every year. So like he
Yeah.
actually gets the suit when the slaves revolt. And
Yeah.
long story short, it is really enjoyable. I really would go back and read that digitally. It's on Amazon if you have Amazon Kindle.
Good.
So
Yeah.
yeah, check it out. But
Yeah. They should do something with that, a show or something.
I would love that. They did that
Yeah.
Vin Diesel movie, Bloodshot. and that
Right.
was
Yeah.
the adaptation of Valiant Comics, which was a newer comic company started in collaboration with Acclaim, the video game company. So
Right.
it was, kind of a strange or earlier '90s comic, but yeah, thank you for giving me a moment on that. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You got for your number five.
Number five, The Incredible Hulk. I've had nothing but Marvel characters really, but the Incredible Hulk is a great character. Specifically, the more traditional version of him,
Oh,
where it's not he can't really control it, and he's kind of like this. He's a good guy when he's human, but when he's the Hulk, he's kind of out of control.
like a
And I also kind of have him as an anti-hero too.
yeah, yeah. He's kind of a force to be reckoned with, and like they just unleash him. But
Yeah, I like that he was an original Avenger, but then he just left. He just couldn't be part of a team, you know.
yeah, I mean, he's too much of his own comic kind of guy. I feel
Yeah,
like Spider-Man, where he's a franchise. Like you
right.
really keep him on a team. Like the character's a little too big. You know,
Yeah,
and that's the same for Iron Man and Captain America. They're a little too big to be in these team up movies where like they.
yeah,
I feel like the characters themselves just demand too much freaking attention.
yeah.
So it,
It would be cool to have them in more solo stories, in the movies and stuff like that. Yeah,
to do, and going forward here, they need to either reboot the Marvel series or the Marvel universe again, or
yeah,
move forward with Sam Wilson as Captain America and do a little bit more with that, or recast somebody, or yeah, I don't know, because
yeah,
as time goes on, they're going to want to change things and make it a little different. So for
yeah,
the generation, I would believe so.
yeah. It's true because in comics the characters always come back. Captain America was dead and
Yeah,
then he came back. But
it
so
just start.
maybe they'll do that at some point with Steve Rogers.
Yeah. All right. For number four, who do you got?
Number four, first DC character, Batman.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, I mean, what else can you say about Batman? He's,
version. And is your personal favorite? That's probably a more specific question.
that is a good question. I don't like Batman when he's too
Scary.
dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the
Allie,
Dark Knight Returns, the Frank Miller story, but I feel like that has had too much of an influence on Batman over the years, and everyone's trying to make Batman just like that. And I would like to see him be a little less grim. I think that he's just so
dark
gothic. It's
and so depressed. And
it's so depressed. Yeah, like I like Batman in the blue and gray costume. Like that, I think is the best Batman costume
the
that he
blue and
wore in like the '80s.
Batman. I'll get to that in a minute with my list, but I feel like Batman is an allegory for like depression or a head injury or some kind of traumatic event as a kid.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
because that's what he had happen. He had some kind of traumatic PTSD event as a kid, and he
Yeah,
became
and he's handling it so poorly. Like what
a
he's
scary monster in response. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's really funny and silly to think about, but that is the way that humans kind of respond. So I feel like he's a little more realistic of a character, especially the goofier style. Like
right.
a bit of the almost like a Spider-Man style of Batman. Would be
Yeah.
like what I feel like would be a little more realistic because he would have to be a little bit of a maniac. You know, like he would
Yeah, well,
totally.
he is kind of nuts. I mean, he's employing children to work for him too. Like,
I mean, that's my favorite part of it. Yeah, I love it as a character. I think he's like just showcases the mental illness of Batman.
yeah, and he does it multiple times with multiple people, even after it goes so wrong. Like, what's wrong with this dude?
Really funny. All right, my number four is Venom. Sorry to change the topic, but
Oh yeah,
Venom Eddie Brock is one of my favorite characters, and
yeah,
uh, I love the symbiote Superman Spider Man. I love the
right.
symbiote Spider-Man because like I felt like that gave Spider-Man the dark side that he needed, the edge that he needed to succeed. It would go out and rob banks for Peter Parker at night and put him in
Yeah.
the name, you know, like it would do stuff
Yeah.
like, and it would get him in trouble, but it was really looking out for him because he wasn't looking out for himself. You know, like so I always appreciated the symbiote, you know, the symbiote's relationship with Spider-Man. And I appreciated the fact that the symbiote got so angry with Spider-Man afterwards, you know, that it became Venom. It became this nasty, you know, creature that just wants revenge. And I think,
Yeah. And I like that it allows Eddie Brock to know everything about Peter Parker, because
that
it was on him, you know?
yeah, I mean, like the newest version of Venom kind of disappointed me. I enjoyed the acting, I enjoyed the movie itself, I enjoyed everything about it except, you know, the origin. It had
Right.
linked to Spider-Man, made it like,
It's so essential. I don't know how they could have skipped that, like,
I mean, they must not have had the licensing, you know. That's the only,
yeah, well, yeah, that's true. It's so muddled. I don't know who has what anymore with Sony and Disney.
who knows.
Uh, yeah.
Microsoft needs to come in the mix. You know, they got Sony PlayStation. Microsoft needs to take some superheroes of their own and you know get on.
Yeah, they don't really have any, I don't think.
Not the Master Chief. You know, they got
Yeah,
Master.
that's true. They got Master Chief.
He should be on my list, but he's not. So who do you got for number three?
Number three, I got Wolverine.
Green.
Uh, I know I said that Beast was my favorite X-Men character, but then I had two ahead of him on the list. Uh,
Realize
but
when
yeah,
he came on the stream, I have no X-Men on my list. You know,
yeah,
my villain list. Like I kind of consider them. They're like mutants to me. I don't consider them superheroes. You know,
yeah.
like
Well, no, I like that they're kind of. I like when they're heroic. It doesn't always happen. They're
yeah,
kind of dealing with their own personal stuff, but I like that they're saving people that kind of hate them.
yeah.
That I always found interesting.
I do like that dynamic a lot. And yeah, you know, they are really brave and they're putting themselves at risk for people that don't care about them at all. You know, like
Yeah,
that has a quiet nobility to it, I feel like, you know,
yeah,
that's
and they're trying to fix the message or the perception of what mutants are. That everyone thinks they're all bad,
yeah.
but they're good.
And that's why I would put Charles Xavier on my list as well if it could be a little longer because he's
Yeah,
as far as like his moral ground, you know what I mean, and like his view on things. I love that. You know, he's got a
yeah. I think that's what he should be. But a lot of times in the comics, he is like a dickhead. Like he's his powers make him an asshole a lot of times. Like he will change someone's brain chemistry just because it's more convenient for him. Or like this one time he tried to kill Magneto
yeah.
and he ended up like merging his consciousness with Magneto's and he created a whole new character called Onslaught that destroyed the fucking world.
Wow.
So like sometimes he messes things up more than he should, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Well,
like how he's portrayed in the movies.
I like the newest rendition of him. I really love Patrick Stewart. You know, obviously,
Yeah, yeah, I think he's the perfect Professor Xavier.
you know. Oh, thank you. Another Pepsi. I'm your level
Nice.
today. You know, I've been up.
Yeah.
You know, it's been one of those days. But number three, I got on my list 60s Batman. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I've
specific.
been with you a little higher on the list, but definitely Adam West style Batman. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I love that Batman. That's so fun. You
yeah.
know.
And, you know, the ridiculousness and everything that he had going for him, you know, like I really loved that show. I feel like it's
Yeah,
timeless in a way, but it's also a timepiece, you know, that shows like a little bit about the era. And
yeah,
a
and you
little
get to see Batman in the daytime, which is such a rare thing. You
maybe
know?
time, but definitely a different time, you know.
Yeah.
It kind of brings me back, you know, easily.
Hmm.
But yeah, 60s Batman would be number three. Who do you got?
Well, Wolverine was my number three.
Oh, I thought that was
Yeah.
four.
No, that was three. Uh, yeah.
What do you got for two then?
Two, I have Superman.
Super.
Um,
All right.
yeah, I mean, I think Superman's kind of like the introduction superhero for most people. Like
Is
I
it?
was first introduced to him with the Christopher Reeve movie. Like that's how I got into Superman.
That's what I feel.
That's still like my favorite superhero movie. So
He has the most iconic characters. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
Superman and Batman and even the Flash. Like those three are kind of ridiculous.
Wonder Woman. Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, Marvel doesn't really have a lineup like that. Like they got Captain America and Spider Man, but even
yeah,
Man, like if you think about it, Spider Man was kind of like Batman style. You know, like he was weird when he first came out. You know, like
yeah.
but I'll get to
And
that in a minute.
I feel like their villains are very similar. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. So number two, you had who was it again? Sorry.
Superman.
Superman. All right. So Superman, which version of Superman would be your favorite? That's probably a good one too for him.
Any version where he's not in the Zack Snyder universe.
Yeah.
Or no, that's not true. There's some other versions I don't like of him where he's like the Injustice version where he's kind of a psychopath. Like I don't like Superman when he's not a moral character.
Yeah. I don't
So
like him when he's not a good Clark Kent. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I love the Christopher Reeves one and I love what's his name? Henry Cavill as an actor. But
right, yeah, I do too. I just wish the movies were better.
I didn't like his version
Um,
of Superman though. Like he was a little weird. Like he got in the tub with clothes on. That
yeah,
got me.
that's right. Why did he do that?
Turn it off. Yeah.
Well, I guess he could just use his heat vision to dry himself or something. I don't know.
Yeah. He could have just, dried her off or heated the tub up with his heat vision. He could have made things real steamy in there and then you wouldn't have seen anything. And then,
Yeah,
it would have been a good way to blur the scene out at least. And then it's like, oh, all right, Superman's doing something. But no,
right.
he didn't do anything like that. He got in a tub with clothes on. Yeah, dumb. You're going to like my
Yeah.
number two. It kind of goes with your number two. Well, I mean, it's DC as well. Green Lantern. He's
Okay. Yeah.
he's all the way up there for me because I just love the kind of theme, that the fact that willpower is, the one center power to bring
Right.
everything else together. I love that concept and that kind of can be inspiring in a way if you think about it,
Yeah.
like
Now is that like Hal Jordan Green Lantern?
huh? Hal
Would
Jordan.
you say that's Hal Jordan? Yeah.
I would think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I was liked him. He was cool.
Familiar with any other versions of him.
Yeah.
Like I'm really more familiar with the Hal Jordan, and I remember one of the favorite comics that I recall as a kid, and this might be a little skewed because I was like young, was he got in a fight with the rest of the Green Lanterns because they were doing something against humanity, almost like that comic Invincible, how
Right.
he's an alien, and he's taken advantage of Earth. That he found
Mhm.
out that taking advantage of Earth. So he started killing all the other Green Lanterns and stealing their rings. And he had like a fistful of rings, all over his hands. And he had like,
Oh wow.
yeah, it was badass. And it was like, a little bit gory for the time. So as a kid, I remember that being like a little, stand out, yeah, or stand outing, whatever you want,
Right.
a little bit spectacular, you know.
Yeah.
But all right, number one. I think this is kind of obvious, for me anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go ahead with your number one.
Well, I got a feeling we might have the same one. Mine is Spider-Man, number one.
Yeah, mine's Spider Man.
Yeah.
Mine's really the Ben Riley Scarlet Spider version.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah, that's a good version.
Yeah, I like that Ben Riley is very he's like the Jesus version of Peter Parker. Like he totally sacrifices himself for everybody, and
Right.
he kind of takes the fall, and he's just a fall guy, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what this can be a little bit in some people's eyes, but
Yeah, I love Ben Riley as the Scarlet Spider. I think he's great. But the Clone Saga made things so strange with Ben Riley.
I loved it. I got it. I got it laying around somewhere around here still.
Yeah,
Pull it out.
there was a lot of retcons in the Clone Saga. Yeah,
But
there it is.
there it is with the tin and the front and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah, I really enjoyed the latest Spider-Man movie, the Across the Spider-Verse, I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Here, hold on real quick. I'm just gonna pause the recording. Yeah, I really liked the new Spider-Man animated movie on I think it was on Netflix. The Across the Spider-Verse. It was more
Oh
about
yeah.
Spider Gwen and how her Peter kind of died the way that Gwen died in Peter's universe. And yeah, it was really interesting storyline that showed a bunch of the different versions of Spider-Man, especially
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah, I
Like,
thought that was really cool that they had him in there.
yeah, yeah, I think you would like it. You should check it
Yeah,
out.
no, I saw it.
Oh,
I did like it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the fact that they included, some of the different versions. They even showed Ben Riley at one point.
Yeah, I didn't like that Ben Riley was kind of a joke though. It's kind of like
And yeah, my favorite, like of course they would do that. Uh,
yeah,
Vin-
they made fun of him.
yeah, thanks a lot, Marvel. All right,
Yeah.
my list of anti-heroes I got over here, and I got my villains. So I guess we could do anti-heroes first, and work our way to the dark side. You know,
Okay. Yeah. That
uh,
makes sense.
I'll go with an anti-hero that's not really in the comics so much. As far as I know, it was more of a movie character, but Riddick. I
Oh,
really like Riddick,
yeah.
from Pitch Black, and he was really funny in his own movie Chronicles of Riddick. It was
Yeah.
cliche and very like I don't know. It's a
Yeah, I thought it was great that he was kind of he was almost like a bad guy put in a heroic situation, Like
yeah, he was like this bad murderer dude that like had really great potential, to do
right.
things. It was a strange character with strange kind of storyline and plot and setting, everything like that. So I appreciate how different it was. What do
Yeah. I would go with it's a character that I didn't read comics for, but I really like the Dredd movie, the Judge Dredd movie with Carl Urban.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
this too. Actually, how I'll cross that off. Yeah, Dread is one of my favorites. I love.
and that's a character I could also put on the Hopeful Heroes thing because they haven't done anything with him in the movies since then, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. That
Uh,
that is kind of annoying, but I mean, I didn't like the Sylvester Stallone version. You know,
no, I kind of like it as a comedy. It's
I,
kind of silly.
I'm Dread. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't.
but at the time, I didn't even realize how many things were wrong with it. Like it's not really like the character at all.
I felt like it was a really long movie too. Like it was
Yeah, it
like
might have been.
a strangely long and hard to deal with. Well, I was a kid. Maybe I got to go back and rewatch it. Maybe it'd be good.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It might not.
I like the later version. With what's his name? Darn it.
Carl
Yeah,
Urban.
yeah, Carl Urban.
Yeah,
Exactly.
me too. I really like that movie.
I like him as an actor too. I appreciate the roles he
Yeah,
chooses.
me too.
And
I've always liked him. I liked him since, Lord of the Rings.
here would be on my list as well from the boys. I'm forgetting his name now. I don't have it
Oh,
on
Billy Butcher.
Butcher. He
Yeah.
he's a great anti-hero, like
Yeah,
and
he's
doesn't
definitely an anti-hero, no question about it.
but yeah, he's funny, like and I love his accent. It's like iconic.
Yeah.
It,
He's literally an anti-hero because he's like killing heroes.
no, yeah, yeah. No, I wasn't trying to make a pun there, but
Yeah.
yeah, on my list next I got Frank Castle, one of my
Oh,
favorite
well, yeah, he is the anti-hero, right?
greatest. He should have been on my list for top heroes as well, but I kind of consider him more of an anti-hero, than a hero. He would be my number one, anti-hero if it were to be ranked because I just love the fact that he stands for justice with his day job. He's a cop already.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's what he does. And then they take his family from him, and it's like, all right, now you get to see what happens. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
puts them all down.
And I like when it puts him into conflict with superheroes like Spider-Man and Daredevil are always butting heads with him, you
it
know?
kind of doesn't make sense because he's just a cop guy with guns. Like how's he so powerful against like Spider-Man and shit?
I don't know. It's strange. He's just that good with those guns.
Yeah, I guess
And
so.
I really like that he has like these gigantic white boots.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, his outfit is pretty ridiculous, but
Yeah.
I think it's iconic, like
Yeah.
I might try to cosplay as that sometime and go to a convention because
Yeah.
I feel like that outfit would do really well if I wasn't wearing like spandex everywhere, you know.
Yeah, they should bring that outfit back for a movie. Just have the balls to do this ultra serious movie, but
Yeah.
have him in like white go-go boots and like spandex.
Those were huge in the 80s. Like everybody wore
Yeah,
boots. Like they were like boots but they were like slippers on the bottom that they worked for
yeah.
anything. Who do you got on your list?
Um, this is a Spider-Man character, but I would say Felicia Hardy.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
What
I always liked.
the Black
She
Cat?
often gets compared to Catwoman. I like her better than Catwoman because she's got
She's
powers.
more of a
You
hero,
know,
than an anti-hero, I feel like. I feel like Catwoman's a little bit of a villain. Like Catwoman.
yeah. Well, Catwoman's a thief. You know. But I always liked the design of the character, and I like that she was Spider-Man's girlfriend, for a while, and she's kind of an underrated girlfriend for him, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that time period because that was also symbiote era, I believe.
Yeah,
You know. Uh
it's another character I like mainly because of how it's drawn. I like the costume.
yeah.
She's kind of similar. She's got the same color scheme as the Punisher.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
kind of got a bluish tint to her black. You know,
yeah, true. Yeah,
yeah, Punisher doesn't have as much blue, but
right.
okay, that's a pretty good one. I would put the Crow on my list as well, even though it's not really a
Yeah,
character as much as a movie character again. But
yeah, but no, it started with the comics, I believe. Yeah,
really, okay.
yeah,
My first version of it or introduction to the character would be with Brandon Lee, and
right. Yeah,
man,
that's what I know him from.
that
Yeah,
one's real dear to my heart because I grew up really appreciating Bruce Lee. At a
right.
very
Yeah.
at a young like I was in third grade when I saw one of the Bruce Lee bio movies, and he was like my hero. I think it was Enter the Dragon or Dragon.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, Dragon. But yeah, so I mean that was really sad that what happened, and it's also really sad to see that they didn't really learn from that experience in Hollywood that much. You
Yeah.
know,
No, it happened. It happened again. Like I don't know how it keeps happening.
different way, and it's all coming down to safety and the safety of the people involved, and I think that is really important to remember when it comes to that character.
Right.
It's just the actor, that he represented the character to me, and he did
Yeah.
a good job. So yeah, the Crow for me. So who do you
Yeah.
got?
I'm gonna go with Deadpool. Um,
Yeah, me too.
Deadpool's a character that is so funny to me because he started off
It's
like he was like the most boring character ever when he was first introduced.
he
Like he
was
was
a rip off of Spider-Man in the very beginning. It was like so
right. Well, he's also a ripoff of Deathstroke in DC.
yeah.
His name even rhymes with it's like is Wade Wilson and Slade Wilson. It's like the same thing.
But
But I like that he evolved into a character with such crazy personality.
I love the two versions of him. The guy at that Wolverine movie with Ryan Reynolds. And then they had
Yeah, yeah, that one's so well. I don't know what they were thinking with that one, but it was so bizarre.
reminded me of the comics though a little bit because the comics are bizarre like that. Like strange crap happens in the comics every week.
And that version was kind of similar to his original version. It was kind of like this, just this assassin who didn't really say much, you know.
To elaborate on that movie and also anti-heroes, like I would put Wolverine on that list.
He's on my list too. Yeah.
That list of anti-heroes, I would have put him with his heroes, but I feel like he's a little bit more personal. He looks out for himself and people that he cares about, but he's not really like in it for the bigger, you know, scheme of things. Like he's not like looking out for humanity, like or
Right.
that. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like kind of a funny character, but I love that he and Sabretooth were brothers that lived in all these wars or whatever. Like in the beginning, I thought that was the coolest part of that movie. It
Yeah.
showed, they grew up over the ages together, and
Yeah.
it made their relationship a little different. I thought it added an interesting dynamic to it anyway.
Yeah.
But all right, on my list, I got next Rorschach is
Oh,
kind of anti-hero, but I feel like
yeah.
he'd be a real hero because he's morally correct. You know what I mean? He's doing the right
Well, I don't know if he's I don't know if he's really morally correct. I mean, he does some crazy things. I mean,
things, but
he's got
he's doing it in the name of justice. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but his day job is like protesting with the end is nigh at a like
mhm.
he's insane. He's completely insane.
Yeah, yeah. But I appreciate him.
Yeah, no, I appreciate him too. I think he's a really interesting character and complex too, very complex.
Yeah. That's really why I like him, and that's what puts him in this anti-hero list. Like I can't put him on the hero list as much because of
Yeah,
he's just a little bit of a wackadoo.
yeah.
Uh, who do you got on your list? You got anybody else?
Well, I also had the Punisher, but you mentioned him. Um,
What
let's see.
like the wait, hold on. The Ray Stevenson Punisher? Did you enjoy that movie, or did you enjoy the Thomas Jane one more? Or did it?
It's a tough one. I think the Ray Stevenson was so over the top
Yeah,
that I found it to be.
I thought it was
I
fun.
liked him. I liked him as the Punisher a lot,
Me
but I
too.
didn't like the villain in the movie Jigsaw. I felt like that character was so ridiculous and actually annoying to
Yeah,
the point where like I found it to be not as great. The Thomas Jane one I thought was pretty good. It was a little over dramatic at times, but overall I liked that movie.
dramatic. Like I like the kind of over the topness of that movie. Even with the villain, like they made him John Travolta's character like really, really evil. He was
Yeah,
like really one of the worst villains I think I can imagine. And his family
yeah.
too. Like everybody was bad, and then
Everyone was bad. It was a really dark movie.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and he was looking out for his neighbors, like Frank Castle, and that. I feel like that was a weird kind of standalone movie that, like, when it was over, I was totally satisfied it was over. The Thomas
Yeah,
one. With
yeah. It didn't feel like you needed another one. Almost, you know.
like Warzone, it felt like they were, a little bit more needed. I wasn't as satisfied when it was over. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Next on my list, I got Doctor Doom because
Oh, Doctor Doom.
to me,
Yeah, I guess he could be considered an anti-hero.
he just loves his country. That's it. He's basically like Captain America for his country. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and his country loves him too.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I've read some of the Doctor Doom comics more recently after I had a traumatic head injury. And after my traumatic head injury, I was kind of laid up in bed for a while, and I read plenty of new comics. And I read these new Doctor Dooms, and like he dies, he goes down to hell, and he
Oh,
fights
really?
in hell. And like he earns his way back to Earth somehow by beating Mephisto. Well, I mean, I'm paraphrasing. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's really complex and crazy, and he's doing it all for his country. Like
yeah,
everything with them in mind. You know what I mean? It's a really complex, interesting character as well, and I love his
yeah,
outfit. It's almost like Darth Vader, but like green and scary. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I love Doctor Doom. He's on my villains list, actually. So
Nice. I'm almost done with my anti-heroes list. I only got one more. You got any more?
yeah, I just have Wolverine. He's my number one on the anti-heroes list.
Okay. Well, I got one more, Sandman from Spider-Man, because I
Oh,
feel like
okay, yeah,
so much of a villain. And this was suggested to me by a friend of mine too. Uh, my friend John told me about Sandman kind of being a good villain. And I was thinking, he's a really interesting one that could use his own series, or something like that. That would be cool, like I
yeah,
really thought about it, but like Sandman, he's got some really interesting powers, and
yeah,
he's got a cool origin story that's kind of similar to Spider-Man,
yeah.
except
He's kind of unkillable, really.
yeah, like I feel like he's
And
a real force to be reckoned with some of the other villains, like
yeah, I think of him more as a straight up Spider-Man villain. And he was one of the early villains for Spider-Man
yeah,
too.
I don't
But he was definitely an anti-hero type in the Spider-Man movie,
yeah,
where he was kind of just trying to do things for his daughter. Although he uses that as an excuse for almost everything he does in the movie,
yeah,
which
he's
is kind of funny
in the
because it doesn't really
comics he's not
explain why.
gentle either. He's not
Yeah,
like this guy, he's kind of a jerk. So
yeah,
that's all I got for anti-heroes now.
right.
All right. Oh, let's see how we're doing on time there. We're doing pretty good. If I can ever find it. Yeah, I'm just lying. I can't find it. All right. Villains. I didn't rank my villains because I feel like that I kind of had a hard time coming up with my number one. Uh,
Right.
it's like a three-way tie. Uh, so I'll start at the bottom. Uh, this is actually a Star Trek villain, but
Oh,
he's so much of a cartoon character that he belongs in the comic book area. Khan is
right,
such a ridiculous character. Like he's got all the origins of a superhero. Like
right.
he chose to be bad. Like
Yeah,
and
he's like an evil Captain America, if
he
you
is
think about it.
India or something. Like
Yeah, he's from India.
yeah.
And he took over the world apparently in the 90s. I don't remember hearing about that, but must have been pretty wild.
All right. Well, I mean, the '60s were a wild time. They were guessing, at that
They
time.
were
No,
guessing. Yeah, that's true.
man, But
Yeah.
yeah, Khan, he's not that complex, uh, but he is kind of understandable a little bit. Like he's trying to do the best for his people, kind of, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, he's kind of like in the movie, he's kind of like Captain Ahab. In fact, that's referenced in the movie a lot.
every
It's amazing that he's read the book and he can't see the parallels with himself.
he's so smart, but he's so dumb. You know,
Yeah.
But, all right. Who do you got on your list at the bottom?
Well, I got a bunch here. Kingpin
Oh,
from
I forgot.
Spider-Man.
He was my original number three, and I started making a new list, and I left him out. Yeah,
Yeah, I like the Kingpin. I think in a lot of ways he's kind of like I like that he's this criminal mastermind and he controls the underworld and he's a really cool character and I love how he was portrayed in the Netflix Daredevil show. I thought he was great in that.
I thought the actor was amazing. What's his name?
Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio, right? He was great.
He was really. He brought the character to life, even though like the character's supposed to be a lot larger. Like in the Ben Affleck movie, that was believable too. Michael Clark
Yeah.
Duncan, right? He was
Yeah.
that was a cool version of the Punisher too. Or the Kingpin. I really enjoyed that, and yeah, Kingpin is a complex kind of character because he's just basically a super mob boss, you know.
Yeah, that's it's like it's like The Sopranos for Spider-Man or Daredevil. It's kind of like and
It's,
I love that he's like this big fat dude,
yeah,
but he's also like super strong for some reason. Like he can actually fight these guys.
I don't understand that aspect of it, but I
Yeah,
had a little plastic doll as a kid of the Kingpin.
yeah,
It's like if you got hit with this thing, you're going to the hospital, man. It was like
yeah. He was gigantic as the little action figure.
action figures are like this, like Ted from Bill and Ted, right there.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
his head fell off, right?
his head. Well, my cat ate his head off. Yeah, but
Oh,
my wife glued it,
tragic.
and you can kind of see the glue a little bit. But you know what?
Yeah,
Rock,
bogus.
he's doing good. All right. On the bottom of my list, I got Thanos because
Okay.
I like Thanos as a villain, but he kind of he falls a little bit into the anti-hero realm, even though he takes a stance as a full-on villain. Like he is morally kind of confused. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in the movies, he's morally confused.
Does things, yeah, yeah. In the comics, he's an evil bastard. You know, like
Yeah,
in the comic, he wants like the destruction of humanity and all the, you know, like
yeah,
every head, like yeah,
yeah, he's trying to just impress death.
yeah. And but I liked his character, especially the voiceover. You know, I love him as an actor, Josh Brolin. He does a great job.
Yeah, yeah, that was great. He was great as Thanos, and I thought about putting him on the list, but I ended up not including him.
I included also on the bottom of my list, kind of tied with Thanos, is the DC version of him, Darkseid. You
Oh
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I had him on my list too. Yeah,
I
yeah.
like Darkseid. In fact, I would confuse the two. You know, because they are
Right,
similar. Like I feel like they're the
right.
same guy. You
Well,
know,
Thanos is clearly sort of based on Darkseid a lot. At least the look of him is, you know.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like that anyway. But
Yeah,
yeah, those villains are on my list. I think they're pretty cool. Definitely, Darkseid would be, you know, Spider or Superman's like kind of arch nemesis. You know, like
oh, definitely. Yeah,
uh,
it's cool. It's so cool that they have a character that is a real legitimate threat to Superman. You know,
like
physical threat, not just you know.
is super powerful. You know, and
Yeah,
he's really evil, and he's got an
yeah,
arm. You know, yeah, he's a pretty interesting villain. I like him a lot.
yeah.
Who else you got on your list there, Edward?
Well, similar to both of them, I have Apocalypse, the X-Men villain,
Yeah, X-Men
who, yeah, who they all kind of want the same thing in a lot of ways. Like,
are
you
like
know,
the guy. They all
yeah,
have at least visual design. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
same graphic designer.
right, yeah, exactly. It's very similar.
He got paid three times. He had to make a living somehow. You know.
Yeah.
Next on my list, I got Dormammu.
Oh, yeah, Doctor Strange villain. Yeah,
I feel like he's a really scary villain if you think about it. You know,
yeah, he's very scary.
of it is truly terrifying to you know to the core. If he was real, that would be a scary villain. You know, so
Yeah,
I put him on the list. I think that's a pretty good choice. And I love the Doctor Strange movie and how he solved the problem of keeping him in a time loop. You
yeah,
know,
that was great. That's an underrated movie. I think. I think that was really good.
solution to it. You know, it showed not just his ingenuity, but his willingness to just persevere. You know, just be
Yeah,
like,
he was willing to suffer forever
forever.
just to keep people safe.
That's
That's pretty heroic, I think.
you know, and Doctor Strange should have been on my hero list as well. I love the Spider-Man team ups that he had. Sorry to go on a
Yeah,
tangent, but yeah, while we're on the villains, it always reminds me of the heroes a little bit. Who else you got
right.
here?
I had to include Lex Luthor. Uh,
I did.
I
He's actually
I
my
mean,
close to number one. Uh, he's like part of the 3-4 way tie that I was talking about.
yeah,
Yeah. What do you like about Lex?
just I like that he's just another character who like he doesn't make his case well, but
Yeah.
you can kind of see where he's coming from in a weird way. You
Yeah.
know, like there is an alien living on Earth, and he has all these superpowers, and he could be a threat.
Yeah.
But the problem with Lex Luthor is that he wants to be the hero to defeat Superman, and he wants to be seen as a hero for doing it,
Yeah.
which I think is kind of it's just a weird, interesting thing. And I think he's also in a lot of ways very jealous of Superman.
Jealous. Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like his character embodies jealousy, you know,
yeah,
and, you know, jealousy and greed. He's got the two G's, you know.
right.
Yeah, Lex Luthor is definitely towards the top of my list. I think he's a pretty complex one, also. I hate to reuse that word, but
Right. Yeah.
a pretty interesting guy with kind of mixed up intentions. Uh,
Yeah.
I love the Smallville version of him. There was actually a
Yeah. He was the best character on that show. I thought that show had problems, but he was really good in it. I thought.
yeah, he was. Do you remember the Christmas episode or no?
No, vaguely.
It was a weird one. Like it was like It's a Wonderful Life almost with Lex Luthor,
Oh,
and
yeah. I
he
kind of remember that.
and it was like having a happy life, and he was friends with Clark and everything, and like everything was normal, except he realized something was off about Clark, even in this life or something, and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
he for some reason went back to being Lex. I forget that the way the storyline went because it's been a while since I saw it, but it was like an It's a Wonderful Life Lex episode, and I enjoyed it. I really thought it was good, like at the time,
Yeah.
and I love
Yeah.
that.
And that actor is the voice of the Flash in the cartoons, which is kind of funny.
I didn't know that. Andrew, what?
Rosenbaum, Michael Rosenbaum, I
I,
think.
I,
Yeah.
how did I say Andrew?
I don't know.
All right. Next on my list, I got The Vine, which is the villains from Exo Man of War. I'll
Oh,
tell
okay. Yeah.
you about them. They're like a psychic network of bad guys, and
Right.
it's pretty interesting because it's kind of an allegory for a lot of things. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a psychic network of bad guys that kind of all team up together through their link, and
Yeah.
they're like able to coordinate attacks and communicate over great distances, and they're always able to go there, almost like when they're in a sleep like cycle. So
Okay.
yeah, it's the alien race that enslaved the Exo Man of War character Eric.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy the comics actually. The art is really phenomenal, and that storyline is it's engaging, and there are a lot of
Yeah.
cross.
I'd like to check it out. It sounds really unique. And
Yeah,
like I said, they should do a show or something.
I got a lot of the original comics waiting for me in a garage somewhere, and I got to uncover them. So if I find them, I'll definitely send them your way, or I'll
Oh, okay. Cool.
links on Amazon. But yeah, Exo Man of War, The Vine. All right, who else you got?
Um, I got Galactus, the Planet Eater. I like that if you think about it, he's not really a villain. He's
No,
just he has to consume planets. So
that is crazy though.
it
Like
is crazy, and it's hard to wrap your head around it. It's hard to wrap your head around the fact that he's defeated. Like,
like how are these heroes the size of like literal like microscopic insects to
yeah,
him, like able to beat him, that enormously large. Like wasn't that in the movie The Immortals a little bit? What's his name?
no, they had the like celestial characters. Yeah, they were bringing
That
them
was,
out. Yeah, I don't think Galactus is technically a celestial, but he's sort of in that. He's like a cousin to them in some ways. I'm not totally sure, but yeah, they're kind of like they're very similar. Yeah, it was like devouring the planet.
yeah, he's
And
just,
it'll be cool to see if they actually do him right in a Fantastic Four movie.
I would love them to do a Fantastic Four movie, right? That would be
Yeah,
phenomenal. I actually enjoyed the first one with Chris Evans as
yeah,
John.
it's not bad, but I think they still haven't gotten Doctor Doom right. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, Doctor Doom. Yeah, that was a weird version of him. Even though I like that actor, I'm forgetting his name now. But yeah, I appreciated that movie because I felt like it was kind of on the right track to making comic book movies. Like
Yeah,
because
it was a very comic book feel to it.
I grew up reading the comic books, hoping that they would make a Spider-Man movie, like knowing the Superman and Batman had their movies and they were popular and big. And like, that was the way it was, I
Yeah,
was so excited when they started making Marvel movies because that was my jam, that was what
yeah,
I used to read, like Spider-Man, especially like I started like a cult in third grade of people gathering Spider-Man cards, I still
right.
hundreds of those Spider-Man clear cards and like Venom and Carnage holograms and all those things.
Yeah, yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah, and now they're actually worth money. So
Yeah.
you're welcome, everybody in the third grade. If you still got, you can cash at me on on Twitter or whatever. Just follow me. But anyway, next villain I got on my list is Bizarro.
Oh yeah, I thought about putting him on there too. Yeah,
He to
he's a
me is
good one.
the funniest characters ever because he can't talk properly. He reminds me
No.
of bots that I get, like saying that they're Elon Musk. They like send credit card number now, please. And it's like, no, will not do. Sorry, no.
Yeah, but Bizarro might actually be more well intentioned than they are.
Yeah, definitely. Bizarro was just Superman in his world.
Yeah, I like how he kind of goes backwards almost, and like his
You know what?
Bizarro world is like a
That
cube or something.
thing, it was like a mirror world and everything's backwards.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really love that guy.
he
So,
says goodbye when he leaves.
huh?
Like he says goodbye when he arrives and hello when he leaves or something like that. Yeah,
Like me am, you are, or
yeah,
you am, me am, like he's got
right.
bad grammar, and
Yeah,
as a kid, like, oh man, that made me laugh so hard. I love
it's
being,
really funny. Superman has a lot of funny villains.
yeah, he really does, and it makes his comic a little bit more kid friendly, like especially the early.
Yeah, like I said, it's good entry level hero.
There was a comic where he had to build a robot real quick of himself to fool Lois Lane, and it worked. He built a robot of Clark Kent so he could be Superman at the same time and be like, "Look, I'm not him," and the robot worked perfectly. Like he was able to build this android, replica of
Yeah,
himself in like less than a minute. Why isn't he making these all around the world to help him out? Like whatever. All right.
yeah.
Next on my list, I got. Oh wait, I just gave Bizarro. Sorry, who you got?
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Oh yeah, that's
Uh,
another
Mr.
on my list. I like.
Mr. Freeze is my favorite Batman villain. I think that he's another character that's complex. He's not really a bad guy. Like
Yeah, that
he's
guy.
just trying to save his wife. Like that's all he really wants to do.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, I always thought Mr. Freeze was a cool character, and he's kind of a character that he doesn't really have powers, but he's more of a physical threat to Batman than most of his villains.
I love that Arnold Schwarzenegger played him because that's one of my favorite guys in the world. Uh,
Yeah, I love Arnold too, but that movie is so crazy, and everything he says in the movie is a pun.
Jill, I'm going to freeze your city, Gotham. You have no idea
Yeah,
what you're doing, yada yada. Yeah, I really love Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sorry for the
yeah.
accent, the impersonation, but yeah, that's a really good villain. I like Doctor or Mister Freeze too, and
Mhm.
or the old '60s version was a little bit more humorous, even more than Arnold.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, it was.
those '60s villains were really funny, like especially the Riddler. Like he was gonna
Oh,
be list, but he's too goofy. Like I can't take him seriously. Like he really wants to hurt anyone when he's giggling like that. Like he's like,
yeah, and he was the villain in the latest Batman movie. He was like the main guy, and they made him like a serial killer.
well, they make him just insane. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it makes him a little bit scarier. I feel like if you just make him crazy, but like
yeah,
the original version was like a giddy, like making jokes all the time kind of a guy. Like that was doing crime for fun.
yeah. Well, the version of the Riddler I like is from the Hush storyline. I don't know if you know that one, but he's. I thought that was a really good portrayal of the Riddler, and he's good when he's portrayed as more of a narcissist. Like
Yeah,
he just can't handle that Batman is smarter than him,
that's
and it drives him nuts.
I feel like he said he's like a real counterpart to Batman. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
in
Well, a lot of his villains are, if
a
you
lot of,
think
yeah,
about it.
Joker is too, but I mean the Riddler in particular because they're both kind of cerebral about their approach to things, and
Yeah.
like yeah, I feel like he's the dark version of Batman, and
Yeah. He kind of is.
yeah,
Penguin is like that too. He's a rich guy. Like he's an evil rich guy.
and I like the Danny DeVito version of the Penguin. But
in the sewer with penguins. Why are there penguins in Gotham City? Who knows?
penguins to be part of his power, like that
Yeah,
makes
he put bombs on them and sent them out as like to blow up Gotham City.
I say too. I really didn't like Burton's version of Batman, like the dark version. Like even as a kid, like I enjoy Michael Keaton now when I go back to
Yeah,
watch, especially the campiness of it. But as a kid, like I didn't appreciate it. Like it took me a while
yeah,
to kind of settle into like the Michael Keaton version, and even later on, like Val Kilmer and George Clooney. Like I thought they were a little silly, like, and now I enjoy it for that reason, like.
yeah. Now they seem even more silly, and think that's why I like it. It's because it's sillier than I even realized as a kid.
I love the one that they all bailed on. That what's his name? Like bailed on the Batman and Robin. Like,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
actors are like, don't watch this movie, please.
yeah,
That
yeah.
makes
George Clooney like apologizes for it.
I totally love it because of that. But all right, I'll get on to the next villain here. I got all right. This is kind of all one villain a little bit, but I'll start with the beginning of it. Carnage. All
Oh
right.
yeah,
Now he's a really scary villain to me because he's an actual serial killer, and that's what
yeah.
he was. Like he was a bad guy, like,
He's like the worst possible person to get a symbiote. Like
and that's what made him so scary in the comics is they actually
yeah,
like did something kind of terrifying. Gave somebody true power that really shouldn't.
yeah,
And yeah, Carnage was always scary to me as a kid, especially the art. It was like he was the scariest looking, and his powers like stabbed through people and stuff, and like
yeah.
like he was pretty cool. But he blends into one of the other top villains for me. I'll finish my list right now because they're all connected. Green Goblin, right, gets the Carnage symbiote in one of the later comics, and he becomes the Red Goblin, and it is really scary, man.
Yeah,
Like, he's
yeah,
got,
I've seen that. Yeah,
and he rides the glider, and like he shoots, he's got bombs and everything, but he's like this hybrid villain that he's one of my favorites. It was really creative to kind of do that, to merge the characters. I like it when they take a chance like that, like when you mash them up, just mash them up sometimes, like make it cool, make it
yeah.
new.
For a while, Scorpion had the Venom symbiote, which it's such a random pairing, but like, yeah,
Scorpion?
yeah, Scorpion, the Spider-Man villain,
Oh, I thought you were
had
talking about from Mortal Kombat. I'm
no,
like,
no. I'm talking about the guy with the tail that shoots acid out of it.
yeah, that guy. He got the Venom symbiote. I didn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
I never read anything with them in it, but yeah, it's sometimes the symbiotes just move around.
One of my other heroes I would have put on my list is Flash Gordon.
Oh yeah.
Flash Thompson. I mean, uh,
Oh, Flash Thompson. Yeah.
Flash Thompson, not Flash Gordon. Yeah, Flash Thompson gets the symbiote
Yeah, that's right.
hero, and he becomes Anti Venom, and
That's right. Yeah.
yeah,
And
it
that's a cool looking design too,
is a
I
cool.
thought.
And the other Venom design is pretty cool too. Like he's kind of like this. He looks like Spider Man a little bit more. Just like
Yeah.
he's not as big as Venom as Hulkish. But
Right.
yeah, for those characters, like that's all I got for villains because those three kind of all merge together. Green Goblin was a truly scary bad villain to me too because all he really wanted to do was cause like the most possible pain. Like he's not
Yeah.
out to like really do damage. He just wants like to hurt people. Like so
Yeah.
I really kind of think that he should be number one. Green
He's
Goblin.
kind of like Spider-Man's Joker in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And Norman Osborn is, especially with Willem Dafoe's version, like, I love that version. He did such a good job bringing that character to life. Like, he was a
Yeah.
scary character in the comics. I remember the original and Harry being his son, and Harry had this weird kind of like checkered pattern on the side of his head over here, in every comic book. I feel like
Right.
get that haircut right in the movies. That
Right.
was disappointing that he didn't have lines on the side of his head. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's all I got for villains. Who else you got?
I just have three more. Two of them are doctors. Doctor Octopus.
All right, going with the P.
Doc. What?
Going with the PhDs.
Yes, exactly. I always like Doctor Octopus. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains.
Yeah.
I like that he's just a sort of a fat scientist, but with the octopus arms. It's just so crazy. Also, Doctor Doom. We mentioned him, but
before you move on, Doctor Octopus, I feel like is the perfect bad guy to Spider-Man because
yeah,
he's got 8 legs.
yeah,
It's kind of like they animal pitted each other again. Like, and the octopus is also one of the most intelligent animals. So
yeah,
it's fitting that that Doctor Octavius, is
yeah,
really smart as well. So I
yeah.
thought
I
it
agree.
was funny. But
Yeah,
what were you saying? Sorry.
and then I just have Doctor Doom, and we mentioned him. We talked about him. So, and then Magneto. I think Magneto would be number one for me.
It was pretty interesting, man.
Yeah,
But like he also might fall into the category for me of anti-heroes.
yeah. You could put him there. You could. In fact, he's
He's like
been good enough at one point to even lead the X-Men at
yeah,
some point. So
like
he's not all bad.
he's not all bad, but he is fighting 100% always for mutants. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not all of them, but he is fighting for mutant rights over human rights. Now, I kind of feel like he's not a villain. He's just, he's on the other
yeah.
side.
But there's an irony to the character in that especially when he's portrayed as a Holocaust survivor,
I
but he
know.
treats humans the same way that he was treated. Like
Kind of funny.
he looks at them the same way.
Funny that a character, with that origin story would have that outcome, but that is kind of the way of the world sometimes.
Yeah,
That's what's funny is characters in comic books sometimes have a lot in common with people in real life, and
yeah,
like even if they don't, the allegories at least do, and
yeah,
like I feel like that one in particular, like Magneto is kind of he's a misunderstood kind of sad story. I feel like
yeah. And
and
I like that
just
Xavier is like one of the only guys that can get to him. Like they can reach him and like sort of convince him a little bit.
I love that they chose the actors that they did for the original X-Men movie. The
Yeah,
Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
that was perfect.
Perfect Magneto, like the voice. Like he's got the voice, like that.
Yeah, they made it Shakespearean.
I enjoyed that, and who else better to be Shakespearean than Patrick Stewart?
Right, exactly.
With that, but we do have another list here to go over real quick.
Okay.
The hopeful heroes.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Now explain what you mean by that. Hopeful.
I really wanted to do like a top 10 and then like bottom 10 heroes. But by bottom 10, I didn't want to do like least favorite. I wanted to do like ones that you wish you saw more of. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like on my list, I'll start at the bottom. Robin, he was on one
Right.
of my lists as well. But
Yeah.
Robin is one of my hopeful heroes because he just doesn't see enough screen time, and the only time you do see him is in cartoons and animated stuff. And really, like, that's kind of limiting, the audience on him, like
Yeah.
the character. And I feel like the character has a lot of great lessons, like that kids would benefit from, not just kids, but any reader. So
Yeah.
that's one of my choices. So yeah, I'm pretty hopeful about his future. That's kind of why I made it hopeful heroes rather than like loser heroes.
Right. Yeah. Like
But
you're hoping to see them more in movies and TV. They haven't really gotten their fair shake.
exactly, yeah. And I'd also elaborate. I could do another one if you want, unless you got one ready. You got one
No, go
ready?
ahead.
Okay. One of the next ones I do is the Hulk, number
Yeah.
9. Like the Hulk to me is like you said before, he's one of the coolest characters, and he's got the most insane power. It's
Yeah.
like he's like a wolf man, like a
Y-
werewolf,
Yeah,
that
it's kind of like that. That's what I love about him.
and
But he hasn't had his own movie in what, 15 years? Like
yeah,
it's crazy.
like the show they did She-Hulk, which she's a great character in the comics too. Like
Yeah,
she should have been involved in the Avengers and all that stuff. But whatever, I won't get off track. Go ahead with your
right. Uh, I would say Barbara Gordon, similar to Robin.
yeah.
She doesn't really show up that often in shows and movies. It's and there's a couple versions of Robin and Batgirl, but the one I like the most is obviously Barbara Gordon.
Yeah, the one with the purple and yellow suit, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah, I like that.
like classic, but
Right.
she was in a couple of things. She was in the Birds of Prey, I think, right?
Was she? Was she in that?
I don't know. I That's
I
why I
don't know. I think
remember
they had a character called Huntress, who's kind of
Batman's.
like another anti-hero, I think, who's in that. But I don't know if Barbara Gordon was in it. I don't remember.
That's a good pick.
Um,
That's definitely on my list as well.
yeah.
On my list also, I could go up Bloodshot.
Oh,
I
okay.
just saw his movie with Vin Diesel, and like a couple of years ago during the pandemic, it came out, and it was perfect
Right.
for that because it was really a mind fuck of a movie.
All right. Well, I would actually say Ben Riley uh, is
Yeah,
a character I'd like to see more of
me
in a
too.
movie or a show. I really like the look of the Scarlet Spider, and I like that he's an edgy clone version of Peter Parker. I think that's really cool, and they should
Do you
do
know
something with him.
the later version of the Scarlet Spider and kind of the latest on him?
Yeah, I mean, I know they changed him around a little bit, but I know that he came back. Yeah.
Kane came back from the dead. Like
So
so.
okay, so Kane is the Scarlet Spider now. That's interesting.
And I actually really love that change, because Ben Riley already made his sacrifice. He already did it.
Yeah,
Kane, it was killed, in a fight, like against his will or whatever, like, and he was
yeah.
his clone of Spider Man. He
Right.
was
Well, Kane is another one you could say they should do more with.
That would be on my list, probably towards the top, because it's
Yeah,
like what they did with the Scarlet Spider is they moved them to Houston, and he meets all these weird Houston superheroes. I forget their name, but it's pretty cool. Like they have a strange bunch of powers, almost like the X-Men, and like I forget the name of them, but there's like a cowboy dude that's like a Texas guy, and he's like
yeah.
it's this tornado or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's his name? Kane wants to get away from Spider-Man territory. So he's only Scarlet Spider territory, and he starts taking down, like, Mexican cartel people and stuff like that down in Houston or yeah, in
No,
Texas.
that's interesting.
So
Okay.
it's kind of cool. I thought you would like to hear that little tidbit, but
Yeah.
yeah. All right. On my list also, going up, Nova again, hopeful hero. He's
Yeah. They haven't done anything with him.
towards the top, like really Richard Rider,
Yeah.
he's a character, like what are they doing? Why would they leave him out of the Avengers for one? Like, and
I
see,
don't know. I mean, the Nova Corps is like mentioned in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and stuff, but you,
C. Riley's a member of the Nova Corps, that
yeah,
actor, and
yeah,
yeah, really thinking that they were going to have him introduce the character.
they
No,
should have. It
they,
seems like it's late now to do it, but I guess they still could.
they still could. Yeah, I mean that would be something I would love to see.
Yeah.
But who else you got, buddy?
I got kind of it's one that these two characters kind of go together, but they've been in the movies, but they're older and they're not really a factor. And it's Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, who are Ant-Man and the Wasp, the original Ant-Man and the Wasp. They were original Avengers. I feel like they deserve more recognition and to be in more things than they have been. You
Yeah,
know,
I,
and
I
one of the things I don't like is that the Ant-Man movies, is about Scott Lang, and I like Paul Rudd. He's cool, but I would like to see more of Hank Pym. You know?
I understand, and it might be kind of cool to do a prequel. You know,
Yeah, they
it
could. They could easily do that.
the de aging if they did that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Have to
Yeah.
recast them. And
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
that would be cool. I would enjoy that. I feel like, but yeah, I mean, I don't know much about the original Ant-Man character either.
He's kind of complex. For some reason that later on they made him like a bit of a wife beater. He beat up Janet, which I don't like, and that kind of soured him. It soured his popularity because of that.
Oh,
But he created Ultron. He's the guy who created Ultron. They gave him to they made Iron Man do it in the movies, but in the comics it was Hank Pym.
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Huh. Okay. Uh, okay. I got to say on my list too, Venom. I said him before, but he's on my list of top heroes. But he's
Yeah.
definitely a hopeful hero because what they've been doing to him is character assassination for the most. Like,
I agree.
my wife loves the movie because she thinks the symbiote guy is funny, and I enjoy the movie. You know what I mean? But to me, I was left wishing that they did things differently a little bit. And that's the simplest way to put it. You know,
Yeah, it's so much of a Jekyll and Hyde thing in the movie, like it's kind of like or
I,
like a split personality thing.
yeah, and I thought that their choice of what's his name was good, Carnage, except his execution wasn't right. Like
Right.
he wasn't Carnage. I was like, oh, this casting is going to be amazing with Carnage. And it's like he wasn't. I don't know. He definitely wasn't the Carnage from the comic books that like was scary as hell.
Yeah,
Had a
I
team of
know.
paths with them. That like all work together. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like that was kind of missing in the Venom movie, and they were handed it on a silver platter in the comics. Like there are a million different stories they could have went with, like with Carnage and Venom and Spider Man, and like Venom being the bad guy, and they got to team up, like
Yeah, I would love to see a version of Maximum Carnage. They haven't done that, and it would be cool to see.
that'd be awesome if they just made that, a movie called Maximum Carnage, and it's got Spider Man and Venom, teaming up to fight him.
Yeah.
Just yeah, just like the video game back in the day.
Yeah, that was a fun game. Yeah.
That was a which brings me to another topic that we could talk about maybe next week is top video games, with superhero characters, and then top sci-fi video games.
Oh yeah.
That'll be a cool topic to go over.
Yeah,
Uh,
that'll be fun.
yeah, we could do that next week, and maybe have it come out on Monday or Tuesday, depending
Yeah.
on what seems to work best for you. You know, but either
Yeah,
way,
we could do
uh,
either one.
yeah. Who else you got on your list of hopefuls?
That's pretty much it. I mean, we mentioned Judge Dredd. That he's not really a hero, but I mean, he's kind of a hero. But
Me.
they haven't done much with him since that movie, and it would be nice to see them do something.
Yeah. Okay. I would say Conan the Barbarian.
Oh yeah,
I would
oh
really like
man,
to see Arnold reprise the role. Like
they've been promising that for so long now. A
same
King Conan movie.
God, man, that movie it had me like in stitches, and I was crying multiple times the last time I watched it. And I
It's
think
so great.
I might have been on a different planet mentally because of the way that it was like I couldn't even handle it. Like when he chopped the snake's head off, I started like tears started shooting out of my eyes. Like I couldn't even stop it. I'm like, oh, what? Why?
Yeah,
Why?
it's so great. It's so nuts.
It's like he literally cut the prop up with the sword. Like that was
Yep.
so funny. Yeah, I would love to see Conan, and definitely Arnold, and definitely Arnold in more things too. I can't say that enough. I
I
love.
know. I feel like the clock is ticking though. He's getting up there. They need to do it if they're going to do it.
Well, he's in good shape. He's in good
He
shape.
is, but everybody has a time limit. So
Right. And yeah, that's kind of a good note to end on. Everybody's got a time limit, even us. with
Even us.
unlimited talk schedule. But
Right.
yeah, do you have any shout outs or anything like that to any fans that have been kind of cool or that have been talking to you?
No, they've really all been so good. I I get some really great comments from a lot of people. I hate to name any because I'll forget some, but
I really
you know,
comment section. They're all really thoughtful and concise with their answers. And like
yeah,
I find them all interesting to hear their opinions too. So if you have any opinions on your top heroes and hopeful heroes, top villains list, and even anti-heroes, if you want to send us all of them, send us
absolutely, yeah.
just
Let us
comment.
know what you think, and let us know if you think we forgot any.
Yeah, or what we could do better next time. But
Right.
like or subscribe button, mash that button. You know. Uh,
Yeah.
what you got? Anything else to say, or are you all done?
No, I'm pretty much done. That's all I got. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty good. I think I'd like to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah or happy holidays if they're celebrating. Uh,
Yeah,
I know I miss all my friends back in New York that are celebrating, and I send my best wishes to them and everybody
yeah.
else all around the globe that happens to follow me. Thank you very much. And yeah, I'll see you next week.
All right.
And
Take
if
care.
you feel like catching some more of me, check out the Tommy Tuesday show, which is
Right.
talking about interesting things. And I think I have you coming as a guest on my next show. So
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'll put your links in the description at the bottom. So
Thank you. That would help because I don't
yeah.
get watching my videos really. All right.
Well, we'll see.
Next time. Thank you,
All
Ed.
right. Take it easy. Take
Yeah.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.